Brothers and sisters, every morning when we open our eyes, life gives us the same opportunity. It doesn't matter how successful you are, how much you failed, or what struggles you carry. The moment the sun rises, we all face the same reality. We have two choices. One choice is comfort, routine, and safety. It's the path that asks nothing new of us, but it also gives nothing new in return. The other choice is challenge, discipline, and growth. It's harder, it's uncomfortable, but it's the path that shapes us into the person we dream of becoming. Every morning, the question is simple: which choice will you make? Every morning, when we open our eyes, we are faced with a reality that is both simple and profound. Life gives us a choice. It is not a complicated choice. It is not a choice between 1,000 different things. It is always between two. Every morning presents a choice between comfort and growth. That's the beauty of it. That's the power of it. It's not fate, it's not destiny, it's not chance. It's choice, and what makes this choice so powerful is that it repeats itself every single day, giving us a chance to realign ourselves, to reset, to move closer to the person we want to become. Comfort is tempting. Comfort is safe. It feels familiar. It doesn't demand much from us. And in the short term, it makes us feel okay. That's why so many people choose it. Staying in bed when the alarm rings, avoiding the difficult conversation we know we need to have, delaying the project we promised ourselves we'd start, all of these are choices in favor of comfort. And at that moment, it feels good, it feels right. But here's the truth: comfort has a cost. The more often we choose it, the more it robs us of growth, of progress, of the life we imagine for ourselves. Comfort is the silent thief of potential. Growth, on the other hand, rarely feels good at first. It is uncomfortable. It pushes us into places we don't feel ready for. It asks more of us than we think we can give. It demands discipline, courage, and resilience. Waking up early to work on your health, picking up a book instead of scrolling endlessly, making a difficult decision in your career that scares you but excites you at the same time, all of these are uncomfortable choices. They don't reward you instantly. In fact, they often feel like a burden. But over time, they are the very choices that expand you, that strengthen you, that help you evolve into someone greater than who you were yesterday. Growth never feels easy in the moment, but it always feels worth it in hindsight. What's fascinating about this daily choice is that nobody escapes it. From the most successful leaders in the world to the person just beginning their journey, the decision looks the same. The only difference between those who achieve extraordinary things and those who don't is how they consistently respond to that choice. Those who grow don't necessarily have more talent, more resources, or more opportunities. What they have is a pattern of choosing growth over comfort again and again, especially when it's hard. And that's why their lives look different. Think about it. Every time you've done something you're proud of, it started with a choice to step out of comfort. Maybe it was the first time you raised your hand in class, the first time you spoke up in a meeting, the first time you tried something you weren't sure you could do. At that moment, fear was present. Doubt was present. But you leaned toward growth anyway. And later, looking back, you realized that moment changed you. You became a little stronger, a little wiser, a little braver. That's how growth works. It rewards you not instantly, but gradually. Each small choice compounds into something much bigger. The irony is, comfort feels safe but keeps us stuck. Growth feels risky but is the only true path forward. Every day you either step closer to who you're meant to be, or you step further into who you already are. It's never neutral. The choice tilts your life in one direction or the other. That's why every morning matters. That's why every morning is a test. It's not about what happens to us. It's about how we respond to that recurring question: will I choose comfort? Or will I choose growth? Easy choices are the ones that don't challenge us, the ones that allow us to stay in a place of safety and predictability. They are the choices that give us a quick hit of relief, a sense of calm, a temporary escape from stress or pressure. Choosing to snooze the alarm instead of getting up to exercise, choosing to eat what's convenient instead of what's healthy, choosing to avoid a hard conversation instead of facing it. All of these are easy choices. They feel good in the moment because they protect us from discomfort. But the truth is that feeling never lasts. The relief is temporary and the cost is long-term. Easy choices bring temporary relief, but they rarely, if ever, create a life that feels meaningful or fulfilling. Hard choices, on the other hand, are uncomfortable. They make us nervous, they bring resistance, and they demand energy. Waking up when it's easier to stay in bed, investing time in learning when it's easier to watch TV, choosing honesty in a situation where silence feels safer, or taking responsibility when blame would be easier. These are the harder choices. They don't give you an instant payoff. In fact, at first, they often feel like punishment, but the remarkable thing about hard choices is that they pay dividends over time. They build strength, they build trust, they build discipline, and ultimately they build fulfillment. Fulfillment is not the same as happiness. Happiness is a feeling we get when something good happens to us. It's temporary, just like the relief from easy choices. Fulfillment is deeper. Fulfillment comes when we do something that aligns with our values, something that stretches us, something that contributes to our growth or to the lives of others. It's not instant, but it lasts, it lingers, and it always begins with the harder choice. The people who live meaningful lives are not the ones who always feel happy. They are the ones who repeatedly choose hard paths that align with their purpose. They accept the pain of discipline over the ease of distraction. They face uncomfortable truths instead of hiding behind convenient lies. They put in the effort today for the rewards they may only see years down the road. And when you ask them what they value most about their journey, they never say it was the easy decisions. They always look back and remember the moments they chose difficulty, the moments they leaned into discomfort, the moments they said yes to growth, even when fear told them to say no. Easy choices seduce us because they offer immediacy. The human brain is wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain, which is why we naturally lean toward comfort. But the brain doesn't account for long-term consequences. It doesn't show us what tomorrow, next week, or the next year will look like if we keep choosing the easy way. Growth requires us to override that impulse, to consciously step into short-term pain for the sake of long-term reward. That's the paradox of hard choices. They feel bad in the moment, but create a better life, while easy choices feel good in the moment, but slowly erode the life we want. Every person who has ever achieved something worthwhile knows this. The athletes who win championships are the ones who trained when no one was watching, who pushed through exhaustion, who made the hard choice day after day. Entrepreneurs who built meaningful companies did it by sacrificing short-term comfort, by taking risks, by embracing uncertainty. Leaders who earned trust did it by facing the hard truths, by making decisions that weren't popular but were right. None of these outcomes came from choosing what was easy. They all came from choosing what was hard. And here's the real cost of easy choices: regret. Regret is the shadow that follows comfort. In the short term, easy choices hide it, but eventually it catches up. One day we look back and realize the opportunities we missed, the strength we never developed, the life we could have lived but didn't. Hard choices may bring temporary pain, but they rarely lead to regret. They lead to pride. They lead to fulfillment. They lead to stories worth telling and lives worth living. This is why every morning we face that choice. It matters more than we realize. Choosing easy might make today feel smoother, but it leaves tomorrow emptier. Choosing hard might make today uncomfortable, but it makes tomorrow richer. Easy choices bring temporary relief. Hard choices bring lasting fulfillment. Success is often misunderstood as a single breakthrough moment, a grand achievement, or one dramatic leap that changes everything. We love to celebrate the big wins, the awards, the recognition, and the milestones because they're visible, they're exciting, and they're easy to notice. But the truth is, success is not built in those big moments. Success is built quietly, slowly, consistently, through the small decisions we make every single day. It is not one big choice that defines us, but the repeated, ordinary, everyday choices that compound into extraordinary results. Think of it like planting a seed. The seed doesn't become a tree overnight. It requires watering, sunlight, and care every single day. Missing one day might not destroy it, but neglecting it consistently will. The same is true for our lives. One choice to skip the work, one choice to avoid the challenge, one choice to settle for less may not seem significant in the moment. But repeated over weeks, months, and years, these small decisions accumulate into a life of mediocrity. On the other hand, choosing discipline, choosing effort, choosing growth in small ways, every day compounds into strength, into progress, into success. The problem is that small decisions rarely feel important in the moment. Waking up 30 minutes earlier doesn't feel like it changes your life. Reading 10 pages of a book doesn't feel like it changes your mind. Saying no to one distraction doesn't feel like it changes your focus. But over time, these seemingly insignificant choices shape who we become. Every great leader, every remarkable athlete, every successful entrepreneur has one thing in common. They respected the power of small, consistent decisions. They understood that success is not about intensity once, it's about consistency always. It's easy to be motivated for a day. It's easy to work hard when inspiration is high or when people are watching. But real success is built in the quiet moments when nobody is watching, when motivation has faded, and when the only thing that carries you forward is discipline. The choice to work when it's easier to rest, the choice to stay focused when it's easier to drift, the choice to keep promises to yourself when it would be simpler to let them slide. Those are the small decisions that build integrity, character, and long-term results. We often overestimate what we can do in a day and underestimate what we can do in a year. Success doesn't require doing something dramatic today. It requires doing something consistent today. It requires committing to a process, even if the results are invisible at first. It's like a stonecutter striking a rock. You can hit the rock 99 times and see no crack, but on the 100th strike, the rock breaks. It wasn't that last strike that made the difference. It was the accumulation of all the strikes before it. Success works the same way. The small decisions we make don't always show visible results immediately, but they are building pressure, building momentum, building the foundation for the breakthrough moment that will come later. Small decisions also teach us self-trust. Every time we choose to keep a small promise to ourselves, we build confidence in our own word. When we say we will exercise and we actually do it, even for 10 minutes, we strengthen the belief that we can follow through. When we say we will spend time learning and we do it consistently, we strengthen the belief that we are capable of growth. Success is not just about external achievements, it is also about the internal confidence that comes from proving to yourself again and again that you can be trusted to choose growth over comfort. The greatest danger lies in dismissing the power of small decisions. Because they don't feel significant, it's easy to ignore them. But ignoring them is what shapes failure. Failure doesn't happen in one big moment either. It happens through the accumulation of small neglected decisions, small excuses, small compromises. Just as success is built by consistent small choices, failure is built by consistent small neglects. That's why awareness of these daily decisions matters so much. When you see someone who has achieved remarkable success, it's tempting to focus on their big moment, the book they published, the company they started, the medal they won. But if you look closer, you'll always see the years of consistent effort, the daily disciplines, the sacrifices, and the countless small decisions that nobody applauded. Success is not a lightning strike, it's a slow burn. It's not a one-time event, it's a daily practice. Every small choice you make is casting a vote for the person you are becoming. Over time, those votes accumulate, and they decide your future. Success is built by consistent small decisions, not one big moment. Growth and comfort cannot live in the same place. It is one of the most consistent truths of human experience. Growth always demands that we step into discomfort, that we challenge ourselves in ways that feel uneasy, that we do things we haven't done before. Comfort is the place where nothing new happens. It is familiar, it is predictable, it is safe. But within comfort there is no stretch, no expansion, no discovery. Growth lives outside of comfort, never inside it. The reason this is difficult is because the human brain craves safety. We are wired to seek patterns that are predictable because predictability feels like survival. Comfort zones exist for a reason. They shield us from fear, from risk, from pain. But the same walls that protect us also confine us. They become invisible cages, keeping us in routines and habits that feel good but don't move us forward. Every time we refuse to step out of them, we choose to remain the same, and remaining the same means we forfeit the chance to become more. Think of every meaningful milestone in your life. None of them came without discomfort. The first time you learned to ride a bike, you wobbled and fell. The first time you spoke in public, your voice trembled and your heart raced. The first time you took on responsibility beyond what you thought you could handle, you doubted yourself. Yet those moments of discomfort were the very experiences that helped you grow. If you had stayed in comfort, you never would have learned balance. You never would have found your voice. You never would have discovered your own capacity to lead. Discomfort is the signal that growth is happening. Muscles grow because they are torn under pressure. Skills develop because we practice them badly at first. Courage is built because we act even when we are afraid. None of these things happen when we stay where it's safe. Comfort gives us rest, but growth gives us strength. Its strength is only found by leaning into challenges that stretch us beyond what we thought was possible. It's easy to admire people who seem confident, talented, or successful, but what we don't often see is the discomfort they endured to get there. Behind every strong leader is a series of difficult conversations they didn't want to have. Behind every athlete is thousands of hours of grueling practice that push their bodies past the point of exhaustion. Behind every creator is rejection, criticism, and failure that forced them to improve. What we see as mastery is really the accumulation of discomfort embraced over time. Comfort is addictive. It feels good to stay where we are, to keep doing what we know, to avoid risks that might expose our weaknesses. But comfort slowly erodes potential. It convinces us that today is good enough, and in doing so, it steals the possibility of a better tomorrow. Comfort tells us to wait, to delay, to hold back, but growth only rewards those who take the step before they feel ready. You will never feel completely prepared to grow because growth requires stepping into the unknown, and the unknown will always feel uncomfortable. The paradox is that the more we choose discomfort, the larger our comfort zone becomes. Each time we step out, what once felt impossible begins to feel normal. The first time you give a speech, it feels terrifying. The 10th time, it feels manageable. The 50th time, it feels natural. What was once outside of your comfort zone becomes part of it. This is how growth works. The only way to expand what feels comfortable is to repeatedly face what feels uncomfortable. This truth applies to every area of life. In relationships, growth comes from having vulnerable conversations that risk rejection but build deeper connection. In careers, growth comes from taking on challenges that stretch skills and force learning. In health, growth comes from resisting easy habits and embracing discipline that feels painful in the moment. In leadership, growth comes from making difficult choices that serve the long-term good rather than the short-term ease. Every sphere of life teaches us the same lesson: comfort offers short-term peace, but growth offers long-term transformation. What often holds people back is the fear of failure. Discomfort is not just about physical or emotional unease. It is also about the risk of not succeeding. But failure is not the opposite of growth, it is part of it. Each failure is a teacher. Each mistake points the way forward. Each stumble is proof that you dared to step out of the circle of safety. And with every failure comes resilience, a deeper strength that could never be learned in comfort. The reality is you cannot have both comfort and growth at the same time. One requires stillness, the other requires movement. One asks you to stay, the other asks you to leap. Every day, in big ways and small ways, you are choosing between the two. The life you end up living will be determined by how often you choose discomfort over ease, growth over comfort, expansion over stagnation. Growth lives outside of comfort. Never inside it. Discipline is often misunderstood. Many people hear the word and think of it as something restrictive, something harsh, something that takes away freedom. But the truth is the opposite. Discipline is not a punishment, it is a path. Discipline today creates freedom tomorrow. It is the bridge between who we are and who we want to be, between the life we live and the life we dream about. Without discipline, our choices remain random, dictated by moods and impulses. With discipline, our choices align with our purpose, and that alignment builds a future that feels free, fulfilling, and worth living. When we lack discipline, we fall victim to comfort. We give in to the easy choice, the quick fix, the instant gratification. And while it feels good in the moment, it leaves us trapped. It traps us in unhealthy patterns, in cycles of procrastination, in habits that steal our potential. For example, skipping the workout today may feel like freedom, but over time it creates the prison of poor health. Spending money recklessly today may feel liberating, but it leads to the chains of debt and financial stress. Avoiding responsibility today may seem like an escape, but it eventually leaves us stuck with fewer opportunities and fewer options. The absence of discipline feels like freedom in the moment, but leads to limitation in the long run. Discipline, on the other hand, requires sacrifice now for the sake of something greater later. Waking up early to exercise is not easy, but it creates the freedom of energy, strength, and health. Saving money instead of spending it recklessly may feel restrictive, but it creates the freedom of financial security and independence. Staying focused on meaningful work instead of giving into distractions may feel difficult, but it creates the freedom of achievement, contribution, and pride. Discipline is the willingness to trade short-term comfort for long-term freedom. Every person who has achieved something meaningful understands this trade. Athletes understand it when they give up nights out to train. Artists understand it when they spend long hours practicing instead of seeking entertainment. Entrepreneurs understand it when they reinvest profits instead of indulging in luxury. Leaders understand it when they hold themselves to a higher standard for the sake of those they serve. To the outside world, discipline may look like sacrifice. But to those who live it, discipline is the key to unlocking possibilities that others never experience. Discipline also creates freedom in a psychological sense. Without discipline, we live at the mercy of our emotions and impulses. We wait to feel motivated before we act. We let moods dictate whether or not we follow through on commitments. This creates inconsistency, and inconsistency creates chaos. Discipline removes the need to negotiate with ourselves every day. It says, I don't act because I feel like it, I act because I said I would. That simple shift creates inner freedom. Instead of being trapped by moods and impulses, we become guided by principles and values. And when our actions are consistent with our values, we feel more confident, more grounded, more free. The irony is that true freedom is never found in doing whatever we want whenever we want. That kind of living leads to chaos, instability, and regret. True freedom is found in living with discipline that aligns us with our higher goals. A musician doesn't become free to play beautifully by ignoring practice. They become free through years of disciplined practice that make expression effortless. A pilot doesn't become free to fly by ignoring rules. They become free by mastering discipline that ensures safety. The same is true for every area of life. Discipline is the structure that creates freedom. Discipline also builds trust in ourselves and trust from others. When we live with discipline, people see that we are reliable, that we follow through, that we can be counted on. That trust opens doors and creates opportunities. More importantly, discipline builds self-trust. Every time we keep a promise to ourselves, we prove that we are capable of doing what we said we would do. That builds confidence. And confidence is a kind of freedom because it frees us from doubt and hesitation. It allows us to step into challenges knowing we have what it takes to follow through. It is important to remember that discipline does not mean perfection. Discipline means consistency. It means showing up even when it's hard, even when it's inconvenient, even when the results are not immediate. Success does not require flawless execution, it requires persistent effort. Discipline is not about never slipping, it's about always returning to the path. That persistence is what compounds into results over time. When we look at people who live lives of freedom, freedom of health, freedom of time, freedom of choice, freedom of purpose, we see the fruits of discipline. It may look effortless on the outside, but behind the scenes, it is built on years of deliberate decisions. They sacrificed comfort in the present to build freedom in the future. That's the paradox most people miss. The small disciplines we resist today are the very things that create the larger freedoms we long for tomorrow. Discipline today creates freedom tomorrow.